welcome to all you explorers. If you'd like to see what's up some more of these old back roads, come along today as we go about 15 miles southeast of Mount Hood, and we met up with the Carter wagon train. They're on their way from back east clear out here to Oregon, celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Oregon Trail. Is this the first one you've done all the way from Independence?
Oh yeah. Not
That's
too many people have done these in these later years, clear from Independence. I did do one clear across Wyoming in 1990.
Oh. Well, it's amazing you haven't had any more repairs than what you have. These are pretty near the same kind of wagons that people originally used, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are.
Huh.
They're authentic wagons, made of oak and yellow poplar.
Oh. How long does it take you to make a wagon? About a year or so?
I have 2,000 hours in just the boxes on these wagons.
Wow. That's a long time. And do you buy the wheels like that, or you?
I have the wheels made.
Oh.
Build the rest of the wagon.
Boy, that's got to be pretty strong, right? Of course, you're not hauling, I guess, as much weight as what they originally did, but...
Well, at different times we are.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, when you load them with people.
Oh. Oh, you let people ride however far they want to ride?
People can ride for a day, multiples of days, a week.
Oh.
And the back tailgate lowers down and there's steps in and there's bench seats on each side.
I see.
Only thing that's not authentic are hidden springs that we have that cushion the ride.
Oh, okay. Let's see, now you say your dad is the one that runs...
Morris Carter is the trail captain. He's my dad, and I'm his oldest daughter, Kahneeta.
Uh-huh.
And I was involved in the 22 months of planning beforehand and the whole trip.
Mm-hmm.
This is my team hauler and Jenny. I have a Percheron. He's a Percheron thoroughbred cross, and this is Jenny. She's a Belgian mule.
Uh-huh. And you left from Independence, Missouri? May
2nd. We're going to Independence, Oregon.
Oh.
We'll be there October 22nd.
Oh. And there's 4 of you girls, is there?
I'm Barbara Robinson,
Uh-huh.
and I live in Mosier, Oregon, and I teach psychology at Portland Community College.
Oh.
But my little girl has been volunteering at Crates Point.
Oh, that's your little girl?
Yes. And her grandma made her that beautiful dress, and she's been volunteering in the Dalles at the Visitor Center there all summer for the Oregon Trail. And so when we heard that this wagon train was coming through, and this is in our view the real wagon train because it's coming all the way from Independence, Missouri, and also they're taking all the dirt roads. They're on the real Barlow Trail here.
Oh.
And when we... Right, the other one may have been called the official, but we like this one.
Oh.
And feel they did it right and without quite as much publicity too. So when we heard that they were allowing people to ride on it, we decided we'd take advantage of that.
And you're just going to ride for one day?
We're just riding for the day, and this has been just a beautiful stretch of the trail.
It's pretty country, isn't it?
Oh, we watched the vegetation go from the open rangeland to the oak trees, to the ponderosas, to the Dufir. It's just beautiful.
Sounds like a real good trip.
They ordered good weather, too.
Oh, that's good.
And a good horse. That's important.
That's the only one that's come from Missouri?
Yes, it is. This is the only one.
The other, I know the last one we were talking to, I think they came from...
The Wyoming-Idaho border.
Yeah.
Yes. So they came a good distance,
Yeah.
but also they tended to stick to the pavement, whereas this one is trying to get in the ruts of the wagon trains as much as they can, and where they can't, they're trying to stay on the old dirt roads. Like this is the real Barlow Trail that we're on now. The other one took the pavement.
Yeah. We're still about 35 miles south of Hood River, Oregon, going east from the wagon train at Forest Creek Campground. The first town we come to is Wamic, then Smock Prairie, Wapinitia, Pine Grove, McCubbin's Gulch Campground, Bear Springs, Simnasho, KaNeeTa, Warm Springs, and the Pelton Dam and Park. Barlow Gate Grange. They've got an auto parts
This is an old town.
store. That's about all.
It's not very big.
Just a mile south of Wamic, we saw this round barn and talked to a farm worker.
Is that your place?
Well, I work for the guy down here.
Ah. Somebody must have built that barn a lot of years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, somewhere around about the turn of the century.
Ah. What was this, kind of a, Smock Prairie, was it kind of a homestead area or
Yeah.
what?
Oh, it said the brothers that built that barn, they'd seen a picture of one or something, and they just, well, let's see how we can build one. That it wasn't really any plans or anything. They just carpenters and they built. But this is something different they wanted to try. And,
They probably saw the picture of one that Pink French built over there, I suppose.
well, it's so far ago nobody's alive to tell the tale.
Oh, that they put grain in the middle there?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And then how'd they get it into the top?
Oh, they had some kind of blower mechanism or
Way
something.
back then, huh? About a quarter of a mile to the west of the barn is the old Lone Pine Cemetery. 1923 is the date on that tombstone. Next, after a 4-mile drive on a paved road, we'll come to the pioneer Smock Prairie School. Most of the old homesteads have been torn down or burned by the ranchers and farmers who live here now. But we'll see a few old places after we cross the White River Canyon on the way to Wapinitia. Wapinitia is kind of a half-deserted old town, but it does have a small gas and a grocery shopping area at the junction where State Highway 400 and Highway 216 cross. Pine Grove here is about the same size. One of the stores has a sign that the Oregon Trail ends here. Of course it goes on west, but it does end for each of us wherever we decide to live at. About 6 miles west of Lone Pine on State Highway 216 is a narrow paved road that goes north to McCubbin's Gulch. It's a couple of miles off the highway, making it a very quiet place to stay. There might even be a fish or two in the little babbling brook that runs through here. Bear Springs, just a couple of miles to the west, was closed in early October for the winter. We did find one resident who evidently didn't know it was closed, so he was busy scampering around under the closed sign. Back headed southeast toward Warm Springs on U.S. Highway 26, we found a signpost letting us know that this is Highway 9 going east on the Warm Springs Indian Reservation. This reservation is about 40 miles square and has 2 towns on it. The first one, Simnasho, is almost a ghost town. There are still a few Indians who live here yet, so it's really just sort of a community. It does have an interesting old abandoned church and lodge-type gas station. I believe the school is still being used by the local Indian children. This was once a very poverty-stricken area, but the Indian Confederation has worked hard and brought business into the reservation just a few miles south of here, which has raised the standard of living for many of the locals. The old church was originally a United Presbyterian mission, replaced today by a large community center. You can see it clear back there in the background. The word Simnasho means thorn bush. If you go out running through the brush out there, you'll see how it got the name. Ouch! KaNeeTa is 14 miles to the south, over rugged plateau and winding canyons. It's the project that's brought prosperity to the reservation. Geologically, the colored cliffs of the Warm Springs Valley are thought to be formed by age-old volcanic activity, with spouting geysers, scalding springs, and pools of bubbling mud that turn to stone. Mineralized hot water racing down cliffs are credited for forming the striking, colorful terraces. KaNeeTa has got a golf course, horse riding, camping, and an outstanding lodge with shops and a restaurant. The Indians were enjoying the warm springs long before white people discovered them in 1843. The spring water varied from 89 to 134 degrees. Travelers today enjoy the gorgeous spa and swimming pool heated by these springs, thanks to the work done by the Tribal Confederation. Out of the canyon and 9 miles south, you come into another big valley. At the bottom of this valley is the town named Warm Springs, named after the springs to the north. This is the largest population center on the Warm Springs Indian Reservation, although it's only a small town itself. At one end of the town is this interesting Indian museum. There's also a restaurant and gas station, plus a few shops. A mile or so away is the administrative center for the reservation, and a regular school. As you can see, Indian youngsters have just as much fun as any other kids. Warm Springs is actually like 2 towns with a mile or so in between. As you head back southeast toward Madras, you go through more scenic rimrock country. This is an all too common part of the natural beauty of Central Oregon. Then in about 6 miles more is the turnoff to Pelton Dam and Lake Simtustus. There isn't always sufficient water in the Deschutes River to turn a big power generator, but this amazing Pelton wheel will run off from a high-pressure blast of water from a small supply, making it possible to generate a good supply of electricity from just a small river. All it needs is enough of a drop to create sufficient pressure. Pelton Park, behind the dam, is a good place for boating and picnicking. In the winter months, though, when we came by, we found it's kept fenced up and locked, so all you can do is just look in as you drive by. The lake is 8 miles long if you have time to drive the full length of it. The widest point of the whole lake is never over 3/10 of a mile because of the sheer narrow canyon walls. This frightful-looking eagle is mounted by the highway just a couple of miles before you come into Madras, a city of 3,500, the largest in this whole area and surrounded by ghost towns, as you've probably seen if you've watched my Oregon video map number 4. Next, from the Pelton Park and Madras, we'll go over Criterion Summit to Maupin, then Tigh Vallley and its state park, Shearer's Bridge, Buckley, Liberty, Michigan, and a few river parks on the way back to Maupin. Coming into Maupin from the south means crossing some high barren places, like Criterion Pass. Maupin sits on a high plateau. The old hotel on the south end of town was built in 1915, when it had a population of 150. It has grown about 5 people every year since that time. Maupin wasn't built in an ideal location because the freezing winds blow through here in the winter and the sun bakes it in the summer. It is a great place for river rafting in the summer, though, with nice campgrounds every few miles along the river for the rafters. Coming into Tigh Vallley from the west side is also a downhill run. In 1915, this town had a population of 152, 2 more people than Maupin. Today, it has dropped off to a gas and grocery stop, where it once had 2 flour mills, 2 churches, a grange, 3 lodges, and several stores. The Wasco County Fair is still held here in late summer, but other than that, nothing much ever happens here. There is a nice state park 5 miles to the east, Tigh Vallley Wayside, where you can bring your own picnic and watch a majestic waterfall. Down in the bottom of the canyon is an old stone power plant that has long been forgotten. Another 5 miles downhill to the east is Shearer's Bridge. The Indians built a flimsy bridge here about 1827. A better bridge was built in 1860 and then was destroyed 2 years later by a flood and had to be rebuilt. Joseph Shearer bought the bridge in 1871 for $7,000 and made money charging a toll fee to all who used it. He also built a hotel, a store, and a livery. This was quite an enterprise while it lasted. When the railroad came through this country, very few people used his high-priced toll bridge anymore, and today there's nothing left here, except for some scaffolds that the Warm Spring Indians have built to fish from. The bridge is owned by the state now on Highway 216, so no one has to pay a toll anymore. You might have to put it into the lowest gear to get up to the east end of the Shearer grade. But once you get to the top, you'll see a deserted old barn and a dog house and even a house with no windows in it. Then where the community of Buckley once stood, there's only one ranch left. Then west a little further is Liberty. It has a few more ranches and empty houses. All there is of Michigan is just one lone cattle ranch. Going back from Shearer's Bridge, you can count 5 river parks in only 6 miles on the way south to Maupin. There are other nice river parks too along the Deschutes River that are only accessible by boat. Most of the others are further apart. Joggers seem to be almost everywhere in Oregon. I do want to always be thankful to the Lord Jesus Christ who has made a way for us to explore all these back road places. I'm just having more fun than anyone should be allowed to have in seeing all these different out-of-the-way places. There's just nothing else that I could think of that I'd rather be doing. There's so much to see in this state, and so far we've only covered a corner of it. Coming back into Maupin again, we'll go by its own city park. In the summertime, you'll see rubber rafts all up and down the river around here. There's even a sign on Main Street advertising raft rides. Let's go back a couple of summers ago, and you'll be able to see just how much fun it is to ride these rafts down the river. This is for all you more adventuresome people.
It's not so soft down there if you go over the rocks either.
From this small city of Maupin, we'll head north about 13 miles to Kingsley, Friend, Taylorville, Ramsey-Hall, and Dufur. North of Tigh Vallley, you cross the Tigh Ridge, then turn west on a gravel road to Kingsley, which is only one ranch now. At one time, little towns dotted the landscape in all directions from here to the Dalles. Much of this was because of the free homestead land that the government gave away. Winter came early some years, and the Oregon Trail got harder over the mountains, so many folks just stopped and settled right here. This old general store is at Friend. It's a block off the main road. My wife Betty is cutting coupons while I videotape. I'm thankful for the helpmate that God has given me. She drives 600 miles or so a day up all kinds of roads. Sometimes we have to zigzag all over the country just to try to locate where a town once stood or to find a point of interest. There are a few ranchers that live up these roads around Friend, so the old schoolhouse is still used as a community center. It's left unlocked so anyone can go in and look around. But it does have a sign inside saying, "Please don't vandalize." The school was built in 1909. About a mile north of Friend, on the road that goes to the Taylorville site, there's this old abandoned ranch, and then in just a short distance further is some old rundown looking log cabins. The roads that stay in the shade may have a little bit of ice on them, especially early in the morning, as it was when we came through here. This is the site where Taylorville once was. Other than these two ranches nearby, there's no trace that a small town was ever here. Another mile or two further north and back on the pavement again, you come to the small community of Ramsey-Hall. Then about 2 miles before you get to Dufur is this old 2-story empty house. Sometimes I try to think just how long it would take to fix up one of these fancy old houses to where you could live in it again. There evidently just aren't enough people left in this part of the country anymore to use all of them. Coming into Dufur is kind of like returning to civilization again. Although this is almost a forgotten town because it sits a mile west of Highway 197, it does come to life again every year on the second weekend in August for the Dufur Threshing Bee. If you like to see old steam and gas farm equipment restored and chugging around, just visit here during their big event. I don't know if they open up this neat-looking old hotel at that time, or if you have to bring your own camper along. This is only 15 miles from the Dalles, though, so it isn't like the middle of the wilderness. Being off the main highway, you'd think that the local folks would know all about each other. Well, that's about as far as we're going to get today. Come on along next time as we explore more of this pioneer country up toward the Dalles and then out around the Columbia River. Next week, let's visit a few more parks and places you've never heard of, like Rentham and Fairbanks, Oregon. Then check out the Dalles and go through the Fort Dalles Museum. Come bring your friends along for another tour every week at this same time.